Now, I'm sure you've been watching the news and have seen many criminal gangs orchestrating Rolex and other luxury brand watch thefts across the UK. And to our surprise, we are now seeing brave undercover police officers cracking down on criminal watch gangs. Now, why is this? Let's look at some information before current police intervention. As we currently live in times of extreme materialism and have a desire to own luxury brand watches, criminal gangs have also increased their urge to steal and loot watches by whatever means possible. Whether that be using vehicles to ram into shops to loot valuables, physically stealing watches in and around the capital city violently, and in tragic cases, even killing individuals for their luxury brand watches, which we'll touch upon shortly. Watch theft has been a major issue in the UK, and there's been an increased fear of wearing luxury brand watches whilst roaming around. Dating back even prior to when billionaire Bernie Ecclestone's daughter Tamara Ecclestone's husband got robbed for his £50,000 Rolex in 2013, which made national headlines. In addition, I remember a viral video on social media that occurred around 5 years ago in 2019 in East London that really set off the chain of events that was yet to follow. Around this time, after this video surfaced, the theft of luxury brand watches increased exponentially and has even led to people being more cautious of wearing their watches and others simply not wearing them at all. Now let's look at some unfortunate cases. Okay, so case number 1. An Omani national named Mohammed, who was son to a sheikh, tragically lost his life in Knightsbridge outside Harrods at age 20. Whilst out with friends. The motive was simply his Rolex watch, whereby attackers preyed on him for his watch, and it's believed that he tried to fight off the attackers, and whilst doing so, he was tragically knifed in the back, where he collapsed. This left Middle Eastern families who often look at London as a safe haven shocked and even scared. Now don't get me wrong, theft has always been a huge problem in and around London. But this case disturbed Londoners greatly because not only was theft being brought into the enriched central part, but it showed that criminals wouldn't think twice of taking a life over a luxury brand watch. Though watch theft decreased due to the pandemic after this case, shortly after lockdowns were over, theft began to rise at unprecedented levels domestically. According to British GQ Online, an article published in 2019 stated, open quote, "The Watch Register, a private crime prevention database that records and tracks lost and stolen watches, the company recently announced it has 80,000 luxury watches registered as stolen or missing, with a combined value of more than £1 billion, close quote. Let's look at case number 2, which involves a man walking through Camden with his wife in September 2023. Shortly after strolling, he'd be ambushed by 2 men from behind. This speaks to a lack of care of the perpetrators. Very simple. Broad daylight, Rolex watch worth 28k, no covering of face or identity, and taking off with the goods. It's the lack of care during crime carried out that speaks to how weak the criminal justice system is in the UK. Let me divert your attention very quickly. Remember Tamara Ecclestone that I spoke about briefly earlier? Well, this time in 2019, her house was robbed, and total cost of the merchandise taken was around the £26 million mark. After investigations took place, perpetrators were caught and prosecuted. However, one of the perpetrators will later be released after only serving 2 years of an 8-year sentence, which speaks to the weak nature of UK laws. I want to take you to a recent tragedy that happened in London, St. Paul's, whereby a man named Emmanuel, aged 32, was set up by a member of security at an event in the City of London whereby he was attending celebrations with his friends. The security working at the event noticed Emmanuel wearing what looked like to be a Patek Philippe watch, which had a value of anywhere between £90,000 to £300,000. The security guard then tipped off a team of people he supposedly knew. After the group of men arrived at the scene, they began to ambush Emmanuel, and whilst robbing him, they fatally stabbed him, which ultimately led to his death. Now, the worst part of this story is the fact that the Patek Philippe watch that Emmanuel was stabbed over was in fact a fake watch and wasn't a genuine Patek Philippe brand. I've shown you cases. Now let's look at current solutions being implemented in regards to police intervention. After witnessing so much domestic threat by criminal gangs for so long, in regards to luxury brand watches and other expensive pieces, undercover police have finally had to intervene and have set up certain situations whereby the temptation of criminal theft gang stealing a Rolex watch off an individual was great. Then whilst gang is involved in the act of theft, undercover police storm out of hiding positions and arrest perpetrators. This seems like the end result of what the streets of London and even the UK have had to witness this past decade, which is terror inflicted to individuals and even merchant sellers who possess valuable timepieces. A few sting operations have already occurred in the capital as of this recording, January 2024, and its primary purpose is to deter criminals from seeking out the opportunity to steal from individuals going about their business. Here's what the Commander of Intelligence, Ben Russell, had to say.
So we think this is organised crime, but it's pretty opportunistic. So they're groups of young men, mainly in their 20s and 30s, hanging around outside bars and clubs, spotting people, and they know what they're looking for. They're not stealing people's fakes, they are targeting original, genuine, expensive watches. They're getting right up in people's faces, they're manhandling victims, they're spending quite a bit of time talking to victims to make sure they know what they're stealing, and then they go in, they grab the watch, and they try and make off. In our operations, we've been able to stop those people, arrest them, and put them behind bars.
Public response has been positive in regards to the operations carried out. These kind of operations not only prevent potential attacks on individuals, but also act as a deterrent. Why is that? Because even when undercover police isn't present at a situation, the criminal may need to think twice, which would lead them to doubt themselves before even carrying out the attack. Another important point to mention would be simply don't wear your luxury watches in and around London because of the potential risk. Now, I know you're probably thinking, why shouldn't I wear my watch? I've worked hard for it, so I should get to enjoy it, which I agree with. However, in this current climate of extreme materialism, target plots carried out by criminal watch theft gangs, an insanely high frequent level of watch theft, alongside the weakness in the UK's judicial system, adds up to a recipe for disaster. They're slowly shifting towards a more covert culture as it relates to valuables, and very soon I'm sure watches alongside other valuables will be suppressed from public sight. So to conclude, as well as police intervention into crime gangs, other ways to protect yourself from being on the receiving end would be simply avoid wearing items in and around London to avoid any commotion. The last thing you want is to be a target, especially for those who even have enough money to buy a luxury watch. You don't need to put yourself in harm's way for an item you could probably replace soon after. And for those looking to invest in watches, a secure vault will be best suited for these items. That way you'll be in absolute ownership of your watch, and it removes the risk involved wearing such items in public. Guys, like, comment and subscribe as I dive deep into more topics. But for now, I'll see you at the next video.